Welcome, history enthusiasts, to our exploration of American history. Today, we're diving deep into the archives to uncover commonly believed facts that are actually false. Get ready to have your understanding of the past challenged as we separate fact from fiction.
Well, Betsy Ross is one of the great female figures of American history.
She left an indelible mark by sewing the first U.S. flag. At least that's what we've been taught in school.
Betsy Ross is often credited with creating the first American flag, but the truth behind this iconic story is somewhat murky. The story goes that in 1776, a committee including George Washington approached Betsy Ross, a Philadelphia seamstress, to create a flag for the newly formed United States. Allegedly, Ross suggested some design changes, including using stars with 5 points instead of 6, and the now familiar layout of stars in a circle. However, historical evidence supporting this account is scant. The primary source for the story is Ross's own grandson, William Canby, who recounted the tale in 1870, nearly a century after the event supposedly took place. There are no contemporary records or other corroborating evidence to confirm Ross's involvement. Additionally, the design of the American flag may have been a collaborative effort rather than the work of one individual. The Continental Congress passed the Flag Act in 1777, specifying the design of the flag, including the number of stripes and stars. The design of the stars and stripes motif was likely inspired by earlier flags used by colonial militias and the Sons of Liberty. While Betsy Ross remains a symbol of American patriotism, the story of her creating the first American flag should be viewed with skepticism, given the lack of concrete evidence. Nevertheless, her legacy endures as a symbol of the American spirit and the contributions of ordinary citizens to the nation's history. While Japanese Americans were the primary group targeted for internment during World War II, they were not the only ones subjected to this unjust treatment. The internment camps also held individuals of German and Italian descent, as well as some individuals from other Axis-aligned countries. While the number of German and Italian internees was smaller compared to Japanese Americans, their experiences were similarly marked by loss of civil liberties, forced relocation, and internment in camps. These individuals faced suspicion and discrimination due to their ancestry or perceived allegiance to Axis powers. The United States government justified these actions through Executive Order 9066, signed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1942, which authorized the internment of people of Japanese, German, and Italian ancestry, as well as others deemed potential threats to national security. This policy was rooted in wartime hysteria and racism, rather than legitimate security concerns. The internment of Japanese Americans has received more attention and recognition in public discourse and official apologies, such as the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, which acknowledged the injustice of the internment and provided reparations to surviving Japanese American internees. However, the experiences of German and Italian internees are also important reminders of the broader impact of wartime policies on civil liberties and human rights in the United States. Before Washington, D.C. became the capital of the United States, there were different cities that served as the nation's capital. Initially, when the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1789, New York City was chosen as the capital. It served as the capital from 1785 to 1790, during the period when the Constitution was being drafted and ratified. Afterwards, the capital moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where it remained from 1790 to 1800. During this time, the federal government operated out of Independence Hall in Philadelphia, which was also the site where both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were signed. In 1800, the government relocated to Washington, D.C., a newly established city specifically created to be the capital of the United States. Designed by Pierre Charles L'Enfant, Washington, D.C. was chosen for its central location between the northern and southern states, as well as its proximity to the Atlantic Ocean, which was crucial for trade and defense. Since then, Washington, D.C. has remained the capital of the United States, housing the federal government's legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Ronald Reagan did not directly free the Iran hostages. The Iran hostage crisis occurred during the presidency of Jimmy Carter, not Ronald Reagan. The crisis began on November 4, 1979, when Iranian militants seized the United States Embassy in Tehran and held 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. This event deeply impacted American politics and international relations during the late 1970s and early 1980s. The hostages were released on January 20, 1981, just moments after Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as the 40th President of the United States. However, the negotiations and arrangements for their release were primarily conducted during Jimmy Carter's presidency. The release came after months of negotiations, including the Algiers Accords, which were brokered by the Carter administration and involved the United States, Iran, and Algeria. These accords led to the release of the hostages and the unfreezing of Iranian assets held by the United States. While Reagan's inauguration coincided with the release of the hostages, it was not a result of his direct actions as president, but rather the culmination of efforts initiated and carried out during the Carter administration. And there you have it, folks. Actually false facts from American history. Remember, it's important to question the stories we've been told and seek out the truth for ourselves. Join us next time as we continue to uncover the hidden truths of the past. Until then, keep questioning and exploring.